Hello, this is Bruno pelletier-bacquaert, and I would like to talk about the major seventh with a ninth arpeggio today. It's a pretty special arpeggio for several reasons. It sounds good, first of all. It's an interesting sound. It's easy on the ear. It's easy to play all over the fretboard. I'll show you several fingerings. And it also is very practical when it comes to improvisation. So I'll show you how you can use it over a lot of different chords. So let's start. Let's take C as a root. So if I'm looking at the notes of a C major 7th chord, we're looking at C, E, G, B. 1, 3, 5, 7. So I'll do it this way. C, E, G, B. And then I'm going to add the ninth, which is a D note. So basically, what happens is we're stacking up thirds constantly. If I start on C, up a third is E, up a third is G, up a third is B, and up a third is D. Now, of course, I'm sticking with diatonic thirds. Some of them are major thirds, some of them are minor thirds, but they all are the notes that we actually would find in a C major scale. And what actually happens with those 5 notes, we pretty much cover the whole major scale. I mean, after all, the major scale has 7 notes. My arpeggio has 5 notes, so I'm pretty close, right? But, of course, being organized in thirds gives it a very different perspective. Okay, so a good way to do it is here, what I was just doing here. So like this, starting with the 4th finger on the 4th string. Now, what I like to practice when it comes to arpeggios is what I think we're just doing now, which is using downstrokes only first. So that means I'm thinking quarter notes. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like this, right? That way the sound is even. You know, the attack of the pick is always a little bit different whether we use a downstroke or an upstroke, right? So that way we have a very even tone first. Well, then of course we're going to use the upstrokes because we're not going to only do downstrokes. So one thing I like to do then is alternate doing a series of downstrokes only with a series of doubling each note of the arpeggio, which is going to give me my alternate picking. So it's going to be this. Then double, and then quarter notes again, and then double again. And then you just do that as many times as you want. Okay, so when I start feeling good about the alternate picking, the 8th notes, then I'll continue with 8th notes, with alternate picking, but without doubling the notes anymore. So it's going to be, and again, I will alternate the downstrokes only, the doubling, and then the 8th notes. So it would be this. Now double, then quarter notes again, and then I could do quarter notes again, then double. So go up and down the fretboard. You can go chromatically up and down. You can use a series of fourths, perfect fourths, right? So I could do C, and then F, and then B flat, and then E flat, etc. Go through the whole cycle. Okay, so let's take a look at other fingerings now. So the equivalent of this fingering on the next set of 4 strings would be here, C, E, G, B like this, and then my D is still within reach here. So I'm going to have this, C, E, G, B, D. Okay, that's a pretty good fingering too. And then I could do the same thing starting from the big string. So I'm going to have C, E, G. The B, I normally would stretch here, and then get my D with the second finger. Now sometimes, since we are going to stretch, we could start with the third finger, and then it's kind of stays with the one finger having one fret assigned. So I would have C with the third, E with the second, G with the first, B with the fourth, and then D with the second. You could do that either way. So that's one family of fingerings. The other family of fingerings would start with the second finger, like this. So I'm going to have C, E, G, B, D, and I'm using second, first, fourth, third, first. Now if I shift down to the fifth string as a starting point, still with the second finger, I'm going to do this. So C, E, G, B, D. And I can retain more or less the same fingering starting from the fourth string, still starting with that second finger. So I'm going to have C, E. Here normally I stretch with the third, roll, and grab the first string with the first finger. However, coming back down, I usually prefer pinky first on the second string, third finger on the third string, and then stretch a little bit and get the E with the first finger. Do it like this. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we could continue. I could do actually here C, E, G, B, so that's my major 7, but then I need to go get the D up here. So in that case, I would go like this and then regroup here, get the first finger on the B, and then come back. Coming back down, you could do it with either this finger or this finger or this finger on the G. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so that pretty much covers all the fingerings. One thing I should also discuss before I talk about the improv part. Remember what I was saying about the one direction picking? Well, a lot of people actually play this very arpeggio using the so-called sweep part. So that means you're going to go down, 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 and same thing going back up. You can do this a little bit, isn't it? So here I'm starting down, and then up, 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 up. And the other way around would be down, 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 up, down. So you could practice both ways. I'm not I don't use a whole lot of sweep myself, but it's, I thought I would bring it up because it's often an arpeggio that is used for sweep picking examples. So let's talk about the improvisation. So I'm going to use a little backing track here, and I'm going to show you 4 different chords that we can use the arpeggio. So the first obvious choice is going to be over a C major 7 chord. So what I'm going to here on the here. Okay, that's a C major 7 with a 9th. So there's a 9th already being played. I know the D. That's the 9th. That's already in the chord. Okay, so if I arpeggiate. So just find the sound of all those notes against your chord. You don't have to run your arpeggio quickly up and down, but just like find the sound of each note against this. Now, what you can also do, of course, you hear the sound of the arpeggio, but you can also slur a little bit. What I did, I approached every note with a half step. And I'll probably be talking about that at some point in some other video, those approach notes and so forth. But without getting too sidetracked here, I'm using again the notes of my C major with the 9. Okay, so that's the obvious situation, the C major chord. A great sound is going to be against an A minor 7th chord. Now, C major, A minor, those are relative major and minor. There are a lot of common notes in between those two chords. A minor chord, we're going to have A, C, E, G, right? C, E, G, that's 3 chord tones that we already have in a C chord. So that's why the A minor and the C major chord are so close. And the remaining notes, so the B, so that's going to give us the 9th of my minor 7 chord. So it's already sounding like an A minor 7 with the 9th. And then the other note, the D, that's going to be the 11th. So that's a pretty nice sound over a minor chord, right? So let's hear it. And again, it's a nice thing if you get a little backing track like this. So that's my A minor. There's also a 9th. In the chord, and then let's hear the notes of that C major 9th. And sing them. So it's very important to hear the sound of those notes and sing them, because those are notes that you want to tap into intuitively when you improvise. You don't want to, okay, A minor chord, all right, so from the 3rd, so A, B, C, from the 3rd I can build my C major, what was it again? C major 7 with the 9th, okay. It's a lot of thinking, and I don't know about you, but when I improvise, the last thing I want to do is start computing, crunching numbers and figure, okay, what formula am I going to use? And then did it start from the 3rd or the 5th? Oh, I never remember that one. Okay, well, it's never going to work. I mean, you do that in the practice room, but when you play, particularly when you play with people, forget, close the books, forget everything, and then just play. Just play, follow your intuition. Of course, you have to do your homework. That's the thing. So that's what we're doing right now, the homework. So there's another great minor chord that we can use. It's going to be the D minor 7. Now you're starting to realize that all the chords that we're seeing. So first we saw C major 7, then we saw A minor 7. Now I'm telling you about D minor 7 chord. All those chords happen to be diatonic to the key of C major, right? If I think of in terms of diatonic chords, C major, that's the 1 chord, D minor 7, which I'm about to play, that's the 2 chord. The 3 chord would be E minor, the 4 is F major, G7 is the 5, and A minor 7, that was the 6 chord. So those chords are all related. But again, it's pretty obvious because, as I mentioned, since I have 5 notes in this arpeggio that are in my C major scale, it does make sense that everything I would be using my C major scale for, I can apply with this major 7 9th arpeggio. So let's hear the D minor. So it's going to have a 9th. It's going to have actually 9th and 11th as well. I have a G in my arpeggio, and the G is going to be the 11th of the D minor chord. So let's hear so this is D minor with a 9. Staying exact same position. I'm not showing you this all over the place. So all these examples, I played them with the very first fingering that we saw right here within those 4 frets. And the last chord I would like to talk about is going to be the chord that would be the 4 chord in C major. So that's going to be F major 7. And here we'll have a little, what we would call a Lydian sound, because the B that is in our arpeggio is going to be the sharp 4. And so we have F, A, C, what I'm talking about. So F, A, C, E, G is going to be the 9th, and B is going to be the sharp 4. So it's a pretty nice sound. Let's hear that. Oh, messed it up. Okay, here we go. So this is an F major 7. So you get the idea. You get the idea. Practice the arpeggio, get familiar with all the notes, do it in different places like I showed you. And then if you have one of these play along things, this is from iReal Pro, loop 1 chord. You can, if you have a loop pedal, you can do that as well. Loop 1 chord, and then just hear the sound of that arpeggio against it, and make a point you're only using at first those 4 notes. Then you can slur into them like I did. You can add a couple other notes in between, maybe notes of the arpeggio, but the idea is that the foundation, the starting point of your improvisation, the sound we're after here, would be using the notes of the major 7, 9th arpeggio. Okay, so if you have any questions, if anything is not so clear, send me a message in the notes, and I'll do my best to clarify situations. Okay, take care.